Yo, what's up? A beautiful rainy day in the forest. Um, I was feeling like making a video, but I had no ideas on what to talk about. So I just went to the forest, and yeah, then a thought arose of a book I read a while back. It was by Krishnamurti. It's called The Beauty of Life. It was his journal, and in the first few entries, I don't remember which one specifically, but it doesn't matter. He had this very epic quote or pointer or whatever, and he said something along the lines of seeing is the action, not ideation first and then action based on the conclusion. So I wanted to talk about what that points to, maybe expand a little bit, give some examples, and yeah, let's get into it. So seeing is the action, what does that mean? Well, first let us examine together actions. Where did they come from? Why do we do things? Why do we do things in any sort of way? Um, so for us, it seems like we make choices. We decide our actions, right? But if we look closer, also, I'm just gonna cut off real quick, but all of these videos, you know, I'm just doing them spontaneously. I'm not gonna plan what to talk about or have any sort of rigid system, because if we're tackling something like the truth or whatever, something unbound, something free, then we can't approach it through the means of some rigid artificial system. We have to go at it naturally, see what arises, right? So yeah, anyways, seeing is the action. So when we do actions, what happens first, right? We perceive something, we see something, and then we respond. So the seeing itself is the source of the action, not some sort of controller, not some sort of self, but seeing. you know Seeing is the source of all activity. If we're thirsty, we feel thirst first. And by seeing, I mean all sensations, hearing, feelings, whatever. We feel thirst, and that causes us to go find water, you know? And then we see memory. We remember where water is. And that causes us to go where water is, right? That whole thing comes purely out of seeing something, right? So there was no self here. There was just a unfolding of seeing. You see thirst, you feel thirst, it causes a memory, you see memory, you remember where to go to get water, you go get water, you see the water pipe, you see the cup, you grab the cup because you saw it, and you pour yourself some water, and you see where water is, and you pour it in your mouth. You know, there's no need for a self there. There's no need for a controller. All you have is seeing, right? So what's that second line mean? Not ideation first, then action based on the conclusion. Well, does a river say I'm flowing? Does the wind say I'm blowing? Right? Why do we say I'm acting? Why do we say I'm thinking? Why do we say I'm seeing? There's no such thing in experience. There's just seeing. But when we impose this self on it, right? This construct, the ego, whatever you call it, we have this bundle of memories, right? Psychological memory we're identified with, and that influences the seeing, that veils pure seeing. Whereas before, action came out of this pure, unobstructed seeing just from whatever happened in the moment. Now the past gets projected onto the moment. We say, oh, I remember this was bad, so I'm gonna avoid it. Or like, I remember something bad happened in this forest, so I'm not gonna go here. Or, so what before was just pure seeing and acting based on seeing, now becomes something else. It becomes veiled, it becomes limited. We become trapped in memory, karma, right? So that's the trap of karma, you know. I hope I'm being clear enough. I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. But I'll keep going, keep hammering this in until at least someone gets it, hopefully. Someone sees it. But what I'm trying to say is, when we look and then thought arises based on our previous experience, and we cling to that thought, we identify with it, it influences our action. So now our action is not free anymore. It's not out of pure seeing, it comes from our ideas of what we're seeing. So it's no longer based on what we're seeing, it's based on what we think we're seeing, which is a projection. It's a projection of the past. And the past then modifies itself through the present moment into the future. So we maintain this veiled seeing, we maintain this identity, and our actions are trapped. They're trapped by ideas, they're trapped by memory, they're trapped by karma, they're trapped by loops. We're stuck in a loop of becoming. We keep being stuck. You're stuck as yourself, you're stuck as these memories repeating themselves as a tendency to act a certain way. You no longer act freely, you're no longer free, you're trapped by a way of acting, by a pattern, a repeating pattern of thought influencing how you act. Seeing is always pure, but when the past is projected onto it, it gets distorted, and we act out of distortion. And we have a bunch of these projected ideas, like the self, time, movement, good, bad, whatever. We have a bunch of projected ideas that we never really looked into. We just assumed them to be true due to societal conditioning, our own upbringing, whatever the case may be that conditioned your activity. When you move in a pattern, when you move as a projected self, your actions become limited. They are no longer free. And that's the essence of liberation. It's pure seeing. When acting out of pure seeing, your action is free. It's no longer trapped by the past. But when the past gets projected onto the present moment, the seeing becomes sort of hidden. Actions are no longer based on it. They're based on our ideas of what we see, right? Do you understand? They're not based on what we see, they're based on our ideas of what we see. And our ideas are conditioned, they're limited. Anything that can be named, anything that can be described, anything that we think we understand is limited, because understanding, knowledge itself is limited. But reality itself, the seeing itself, it's not limited. It is what it is. We can't put a name on it. We can't put a label on it. The label is imagined. The ideas are imagined. They're creations of the mind, artificial ideas, and then our actions become artificial. They are no longer natural. They are no longer aligned with our true nature. They are aligned with this weird construct of psychological memory we call the ego, right? So what I'm saying is, seeing is always the source of action, not the ideation first and then acting based on the conclusion. Because, funnily enough, when you see ideation, seeing causes that action. So seeing was always the source of the action. Just ideas came in between, and now you're acting based on the ideas you see, not on the reality you see. You get what I'm saying? So you live in an illusion, samsara, whatever, right? If your actions are based on the ideas of what you're seeing, they're based on some limited knowledge, fabricated assumptions, mental patterns, loops, right? So you're limited, you're not free, your seeing is free, but it appears to be trapped. So all it is you appear to be trapped. And as long as you appear to be trapped, you are trapped, right? So when we drop our assumptions, when we see through the psychological memory that forms our patterns, seeing can become free, seeing can become clear, and actions flow naturally. Like water. Water, when it encounters, like a river, when it encounters rocks, water flows around it. It doesn't think, oh, a challenge, I have to do this to move around it. It naturally moves exactly as it should. Seeing is the same. Seeing is reality itself looking. Seeing works around any challenges by itself. You just have to trust it. When you let go of this idea of control, this idea of a self, and just let seeing be free, everything starts to align. Old patterns start to dissolve. Conditioning begins to unravel, and you become more and more light, free, peaceful, playful. You take stuff less seriously. Suffering starts to disappear. And when we fully see through this psychological memory we call a self, then comes freedom, complete freedom. And it's available for everyone because seeing is always pure. The only thing you were missing is this idea that you are someone in control of what's going on and that you understand what's going on. Because seeing itself will always take care of it. You'll always respond perfectly. Everything will be aligned, just like the Taoist concept of Wu Wei, non action. See, when we remove the imaginary actor and do nothing, seeing itself takes care of the action. And the action is always aligned with the moment. Yeah, so that's about it. Seeing itself is the action, not ideation first and then action based on the conclusion. When the action is based on the conclusion, it's an abstraction of reality, abstraction based on your limited knowledge. When the action is based on pure seeing, it's a direct response to what's going on right now, and it'll always be perfect. Just how water always perfectly flows around its obstacles, just how the wind doesn't need permission to blow and always blows exactly as it should. When you think about what you're doing, it becomes an abstraction, it becomes limited, and you become trapped. So free yourself now and just notice this. Look in your experience and notice where action is coming from. I know you can do it. Thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll see you in another video. Bye.